Hello everybody and welcome to this product video about our linen number 1005 portrait. Now, to be very honest, from a technical point of view, this is not a real portrait linen, as I'll show you in a moment. But this linen demonstrates something in which Caravaggio, the priming company, excels. Probably one of the best in the world. Smoothness. The ability to prime a linen that is so smooth that it is actually smoother than almost all cottons, and it approaches the smoothness of a polyester. So that is quite a unique feat, because that's something that Claessens cannot do. Now, to show you why it's not 100% portrait linen, here is a detailed macro image. And as you can see straight away, the weave density is about 15 by 15 yarns, which is very low actually for a portrait linen. It's very comparable to our economy plus 551 linen. A real portrait linen is somewhere around 23, 27, 27. So for example, if I move my macro camera to the right, here we go, then you can see on the right hand side, you see the 1201, which is a real portrait linen, 23 by 23 yarns per centimeter, long and short direction. So on the right the 1201 and on the left the 1005. A little bit out of focus, but I think you can judge the difference from this image. Now, what is so particular about the Caravaggio priming is that when they apply the coatings, the layer of coatings, they squeeze the linen together. And you have to imagine that you have two steel rolls, one on the top, one at the bottom, and the linen is passed through these rolls and it's squeezed together. So the yarns, linen yarns, are normally round. And what happens is they are flattened out. So they are flattened like this and they expand like that. And that creates a really smooth surface. In fact, you can see that if I move my camera over to the other side and I show you on the left 551 and on the right the 1005, and you can see that the 551 has this rounded movement in the yarns, whereas the 1005 is literally flattened out. And that gives you this really smooth surface to work on. The priming by Caravaggio is a really nice priming. It is more absorbent than the Claessens priming, but it is also far less expensive. Very good for acrylic paints, but if you work with oil paints, you have to take into consideration that the scope of applications that you can do with oil paint on a Caravaggio priming is a little bit more limited. If you like to work with highly diluted oil paints or layers of oil paints using, for example, lots of turpentine or linseed oil or other mediums, then Claessens can dry out in a bit more even way than the Caravaggio priming does. However, if of course then you start to thicken out your oil paint, then this difference gets smaller and smaller or disappears altogether. So it's a nice priming to work on, but you have to consider, as I said, that it is a bit more absorbing than the Claessens one. Price-wise, fantastic. I mean, Claessens primed linens won't even get half as fine as the 1005 portraits. You pay double the price. It's that simple. So that is something to take into consideration as well. So in the end you think, hey, this is my perfect portrait linen. Well, unfortunately, as the saying goes in English, all that shines is not gold. And 1005 has one particular drawback that I have to make you aware of, and that is instability. Now, what do I mean by instability? If you take natural fibers such as cotton, linen, jute fibers, for example, all these fibers will expand or retract according to changes in humidity. A normal thing. Wash your jeans and the first day they'll be more tight than before because they shrank a little bit. Now, this shrinking expansion movement is not a big deal for an artist, at least, if it is limited. If it's not too much, then okay, maybe from time to time you will need to key out a little bit, but for the rest it doesn't really bother you. The problem with the 1005, however, is that it tends to expand enormously, much more than you would expect from other linens, particular linens that are woven in Belgium. So this creates a problem the larger the painting or the size of the painting becomes that you're working on. So if you have a small painting, let's say a 50 by 50 centimeters or a 2 by 2 feet, for example, that doesn't make much difference. But if you like to scale up your works and you're thinking about 1.5 by 2 or 2 by 2 meters, so let's say 60 by 80 inches or 80 inches square, then you are potentially running into problems with the 1005, meaning that you will have a linen or a stretch canvas which is perfect on day one, and suddenly 2 or 3 weeks later it goes completely floppy. So that forces you to either key out the frame or to restretch altogether using pliers, because in the worst case scenario you may have developed waves in the surface, which is of course not a nice thing. So the 1005 is usable. I mean, I have clients who are really happy with it, but be aware of this tendency or this risk of expansion. So if you don't mind to restretch, for example, no problem whatsoever. If you like to paint first on the canvas and then stretch it, also much less problematic, because the expansion will happen before you stretch and much less risk that it happens after you stretch. But be aware, as I said, of this particular tendency. Smoothness wise, as I said, fantastic. I mean, polyesters are probably the only material that are smoother than 1005. So if you want to go for smoothness, go for it. I mean, perfect. Now, regarding this expansion problem, there is an alternative which I would point out, which is our 665 Standard Plus. So we're still looking at the same priming by Caravaggio, but using a Belgium linen. And Belgium linens are a little bit more stable than Italian linens. So this instability effect will be reduced. The 665 is not as smooth as the 1005, I'll grant you that, but if you can work with that one, then you certainly have a very interesting option for larger sizes, let's say 2 by 2 or 2 by 2.5. So 665 can be an option if you can work with that type of smoothness. If you want the ultimate, take the 1005. But the best way to judge the quality of linen is very simple. Samples. If you are a professional artist and you haven't yet received one of our sample booklets, then please do me a favor, send us a mail to info@artel.eu. Apply for the booklet. It is completely for free wherever you are worldwide. I don't care. But this way you can actually see the samples by themselves. You have them down here. At the back there is a technical sticker that gives you all the basic info details, and then you know for sure what you're going to work on. So if you'd like, please apply. I'm more than happy to help you out. Having said that, I hope you found this video of interest, and as I said, 1005, very interesting option, but be aware for the possibility of restretching later on. Thanks for watching and hope to see you in the next video.